What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your Rock Beam DC to your DMX controller. So another way we can control our light is by setting it up to a DMX controller like this one here. This gives you a bit more control over the light so that you can use it for your stage shows, live productions, etc. So the first thing we can do for this setup is connect our DMX controller to the light, and to do that we can use the included DMX cable that came with the light. So we're gonna take the male end of our cable and plug it into the DMX out on our controller. So now from our DMX controller, we have our first light of the chain all set up. And if you wanted to add another light to this chain, all you're gonna do is take another DMX cable, plug it into the DMX out of your first light, then plug the other end into the DMX in on the second light, and so on and so forth. So now to make sure our light will communicate with our controller, we have to first set our light to the DMX address mode. To do that, we're gonna press the menu button until we see the address menu. Then we're gonna press enter. And then from there, we can use the up and down arrows to set our light to a different DMX address. For today, we're gonna set it to A001 and press enter to save the change. So now that that's all set, I'm going to turn on my controller. If you have more than one light set up, you're gonna want to set them all to the same DMX address. Next, we're gonna activate scanner 1 on our controller. Now the adjustment of each fader is measured by what they call values. The easiest way to tell what value you're setting your fader to is by looking at the screen on the top of your controller. And for some of the modes, each value has a different function for the light, but we're gonna be going over that as we progress here. So now let's go through all the faders. Starting with fader 1, we can use this to adjust the x-axis for the light. So if we adjust fader 1 here, you'll see the light rotate just like this. Next we have fader 2 to fine-tune this rotation. Then we have fader 3 to adjust the tilt for the light, so the more I raise that, the more you see the light tilting up. And then we can use fader 4 to fine-tune this rotation. Then we have fader 5, which controls the speed of these rotations. So if I were to raise this all the way up and then use fader 1, you'll see that the light is being rotated very, very slow. It's going, I promise. But if we lower fader 5 a little bit, you'll see that it rotates a little faster. And if we set it all the way down, it rotates at full speed. Next we have fader 6, which acts as the dimmer for the light, or how we adjust the overall brightness. So if we raise this all the way up, then that's max brightness right there. And we can set this even lower if we want it less bright, just like that. And then next to that we have fader 7, which activates the strobe mode for the light. So if I raise this just a little bit, you'll see that it flashes slowly, and if I raise it more, the flash becomes quicker. Fader 8 allows you to change the color for the light, and this is also where the values are important because certain value ranges determine the color for the light. For example, values 0 through 15 set the light to this white color here, and if we were to change that anywhere from 16 to 31, it sets the light to this red color here. There's a lot of other colors that are also available when we go up on the fader here, and to see which values activate which color, you can always refer to the DMX guide. Also, what's cool is that you can use whichever color you select for the shapes that you set your light to, the strobe, etc. Speaking of shapes, we have fader 9 that allows us to set up a different shape or pattern for the light. So for example, if we went anywhere from value 40 to 47, it sets the light to the star shape here. Next we have fader 10, which activates a prism shape, which is really cool. So from value 0 to 7, this will leave this shape off, but once we go after that point, we activate the prism. And from values 128 to 255, we can get this prism to spin, and the higher we go, the faster we can make it spin. Next we have fader 11 to activate the auto mode for the light. So from values 0 to 50, we have the auto mode off, but once we go to 51, then the auto mode starts to activate in the fast movement. From values 101 to 200, we can set it to the slow auto mode. And from values 201 to 255, we can activate the sound mode for the light. And with fader 12, we can reset the light once it hits anywhere from 201 to 209. It's gonna take 5 seconds and then the light will restart. So that's what all the faders do here on our DMX controller. But now let's go over how we can have a wireless DMX controller set up to our light. So a cool thing is, if you have a wireless DMX controller like this one here, you can get a wireless DMX receiver like the DMX WRE to plug into your light to make it completely wireless. Basically how this works is you can activate the wireless connection from your controller. From there, it's going to send out a wireless DMX signal, which we call a wireless DMX ID code, which can be picked up by the receiver here as long as they're set to the same wireless DMX ID code. And it's really easy to sync these up because these codes are color coded. So as long as they're set to the same color, the controller and your receiver, which will be plugged into the light, will communicate. So first, we're gonna activate the wireless DMX on the controller. You'll then see this light flash here, and that's the wireless DMX ID code looking to connect to another device. And to set it to a different color, all we have to do is press this button here, and then you'll see that we have different options. So we have red, green, yellow, blue, and so on. So for today, we're actually gonna set this code to the blue one. So now that we have the wireless DMX code set up on our controller, we then have to do the same thing on our receiver here. To do that, all we have to do is press this button here on the receiver, and it's really small, so you may need a small object like an Allen key, a small flathead screwdriver, or whatever you can use to access this button here. And you're gonna press this button until you see the light up blue. And right away you can tell that your controller and your receiver are synced once the controller flashes red and the receiver flashes green. So now all we have to do is plug the receiver into the DMX in on our light. And just like we did earlier, you'll want to set your light to the DMX address mode and set it to a specific DMX address. For today, we're gonna set it to A001. Then we're gonna activate scanner 1 on our controller. And now if we start to use the faders on our controller, you'll see it starts to work with the light. And if you want to do this with multiple lights, you just need a wireless receiver for each light that you want to control from your DMX controller. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your Rockbeam DC with a DMX controller. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.